This is week 6 of this thing I'm doing.
Where have you been?
Hey y'all, I'm back at it again. It's funny, I haven't actually started at Taco Bell yet. I'm kind of perpetually in training until Taco Bell SOS support pulls me out of it. It's been a good week. I've been grinding Elden Ring and playing Mario 64 in my free time, so it's a good mix of brushing my teeth and scrubbing them. I'll be using MuseScore for music, Maya for 3D, and Godot for games, along with a handful of others. Without further ado, let's get after it.
This painting is so realistic, it looks like you could step straight into it. And you can! Ah! Peggle!
Last week, I wanted to get back into music that was more aligned with Mark Menza's style, the guy behind the GT soundtrack. So I started a new sheet of music using the same instrumentation as my first track, which I felt was more aligned with his kind of style and the music he was going for. My hope is that I can match the vibe he gave off. I'd really love to get good at making this style of music. My hope is that one day I could use it in a game that I kind of have on the back burner right now. Of course, to do that, I need to get better at making music, at animation, at composing, and programming. So it's still ways away. But if I keep going now, I'd say I can get there for sure. Can't wait for what's next.
Oh boy, my favorite seat!
He's nothing but a low-down, double-dealing, backstabbing, larcenous, perverted worm. Hanging's too good for him. Burning's too good for him. He should be torn into little bitsy pieces and buried alive.
It's good to be back in Maya. I'm reaching out to Armor Paint Q&A to see about helping me with the brush size issue I was having last time. Hopefully, by the time they respond, I can lock in on updating the meshes so they can look stellar. Until I figure out more, I'm ditching Armor Paint.
Don't let me leave, Murph! Don't let me leave, Murph! No! 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 No!
Rigging models is a crazy easy thing to do nowadays. I honestly thought this was going to be a huge learning curve for me, but there's literally an automated rigging tool button in Maya. It's crazy. Still, there is some troubleshooting to be sure. If you don't know what rigging is, it's basically making joints for a 3D model to help it move. It's been around forever, but recently it's been used more often in 2D animated shows like Rick and Morty, and probably most of Netflix's 2D animated catalog. Applying the rig to Gravetaur was really easy. However, at some point I may have selected some weird setting that janked up my whole rig. Basically, I decided to redo my rig, and when I did, the rig became slightly shorter than what it needed to be. I couldn't really figure out what I was doing wrong for the entire day. So I basically screwed myself over. So I low-key burned through the rest of the day trying to solve this.
Hey! No! Stop! Just calm down! Don't do it!
I'm trying to watch the bloody television in here!
Stephen! I want you shut the f*** up, woman!
I finished Bracky's video today. Now I'm off to program on my own and do as my heart contents. It's exciting, but it also had scratching to be sure. Confusing programming has been a factor in game development forever. Sometimes it's straightforward, other times it's just mind-jarring. The Atari Jaguar, for instance, was confusing. Imagine, if you will, that your computer has a chip in it for programming stuff. You feed code into the chip, and then the chip spits out a game. Works great. Now for the Atari Jaguar. Imagine if your chip filed for divorce, and now anytime you want to do anything, you have to bring two chips together instead of doing what you want. Then they cannibalize each other. That's the Atari Jaguar chip system for you. Sounds bad? Now imagine the PS3, which is the same thing, but this time it's polygamy. Now with that in mind, I don't have to deal with divorced parents, but a normal coding life ain't easy either. This is a Sneetch. I want it to walk left, and I want it to walk right on a platform. If it hits the wall, it turns around. If it hits another wall, it turns around again. Simple, right? It is. However, previously whenever I did that, the enemy would go flying off screen. That's because I don't have two walls between them at all times. I have them on platforms. So how do I fix this? Well, I thought if I have arrows on the side of the character that each have a rule that if they touch something, they turn around, I could apply the opposite logic to arrows underneath the character so that they'd flip when they're no longer touching the ground. That was the idea. Unfortunately, this logic seemed straightforward enough. However, I kept running into some issues. That's how most coding goes for me. I think I know what I'm doing, and then I'm proven wrong. Doesn't mean I'm giving up, but gosh darn it, I feel like I need to give it a little bit of a pause for now. So while I'm working through that, I decided to add text to the sky. I decided to add clouds in the air to help liven up the area a bit. Lots of heartache for sure, but it was a successful day.
Excuse me, sir, there must be someone you've confused before. If I could see someone who knew me or someone.
Muse got an update. If I click W, all the notes I have selected get longer. If I click Q, the notes I have selected get shorter. This is so pog.
I got some cool pogs. Elf pogs. Remember Elf?
Before, if I wanted to increase a note's size, note's length, it would override the next note. So if I wanted to place a series of notes, and if I wanted them to be a little bit faster, it would require me to basically kill any note in front of it that got in the way.
And we download Marvel Rivals. And I get to play Marvel Rivals.
Anyways, I just about nailed down the vibe I was going for in this section of music. It's the guitar riff that Mark Menza usually has that I can't figure out how to replicate in Muse. Just kind of that distinct riff that he does periodically in his songs, just something I can't quite get. Still, it's a work in progress.
Oh man, that's your favorite finger. It's my favorite finger! It's his favorite finger, Cecil.
I'm working on finger rigs today. I eventually figured out why my model was being jank. And by figured out, I mean I deleted the project and started over with a brand new one, and that worked great. I started working on rigging the fingers. It was also a straightforward process once I figured it out. There's one persistent issue I keep coming across while modeling though, and that's the system interpreting things a little wonky.
Peter, how are you doing that?
I don't know, Lois. I'm scared. I get help. Call somebody. Am I gonna die?
The leg mesh works until it starts yanking the other leg on the other side if it moves too far away. Now if I treat the legs as joints rather than objects that I move and pull, the rig handles it a little better, which makes sense, but still there's too much pull on the opposite leg to ignore. But that's a problem for another day. I found that CCO has so many more texture options and maps than I'm used to, which is stellar. I'll definitely be using these meshes with armor paint because they're exactly what I'm looking for. Hopefully I'll be able to layer them over a skin texture and make it look like more like a chainmail over flesh, if that makes sense. I then messed with the textures a bit more, making the legs rougher and more reflective, I also ended up doing something funky to the robe area around Gravetaur's waist and made it look incredibly rough. But I like it, so I'm keeping it. Honestly, a stellar day.
Oh, that bee is living my life!
Let it go, Kenny.
When will this nightmare end?
So last time I worked on Godot, I threw in some music from Bracky's recommended video. But before I uploaded anything, I actually wanted to use my own music, even if it's not great. My original plan was to use Mario Paint software that I've used previously on some other projects, since it's already kind of set up for that gamey vibe. Unfortunately, Apple hates me and won't let me download it because it thinks it's malware.
You asked me why I'm doing all this. What I want is to create peace and bring about justice.
Create peace? Justice? Are you kidding? After all of the horrible things that you've done, don't you dare talk about peace and justice!
So I decided to do something different. Let me tell you about sound fonts. Sound fonts are essentially a collection of digital instruments. Think of like regular fonts for like typing, right? Just how you can find a bunch of fonts online with different boldnesses, italicizations, sizes. Sound fonts are the same way. Different sounds, different instruments, all wrapped together in a unique style. Like the Bubsy 3D sound font.
You'd rather stare at a blank wall.
God! Oh, God!
Online, I found the Bubsy 3D sound font, and I decided that's exactly what I need for this project. It was literally like finding gold.
Never thought I'd see it. Me own eye.
Tickets to the SpongeBob movie!
So I opened up MuseScore and uploaded the sound font. Apparently though, it takes a fat minute to cycle through the instruments. I had no idea what instruments it had, so I had to just trial and error every single one to figure out what I liked. It was all different versions of the same noise that had to be filtered through until I found a good selection of instruments that I decided would be good enough. I didn't make anything too in-depth, but I made something I liked. After that, I'd say the next thing I did was a pretty huge accomplishment in my book. I went out of my way and made a collision shape that loads me into the next area of the game. Right now, I have it hard-coded, which means it will always load the second part of level 1. That means every time I need to use this object, I need to create an entirely new one dedicated to loading the next level. It still works though. I'll work on it for sure, but this is a pretty good start. Overall, a fantastic week.